Here's an exercise on creative alchemical life design. How to make a list. This is the sort of list you want to make when you know you need a list, and so you make one, and then you look at the list and you're like, holy shit, this is overwhelming. So you get out your paint supplies. You sit down. I've got my fun ones, my little travel ones. Simple. These are watercolors. Watercolors, why? Because they're easy and they can dry, and then when they're dry, you can write lists on them. Efficient creative life design. When do you need it? When you feel overwhelmed and need to make a list, and you make that list on your iPhone or scratch paper or whatever, or in your head, and it seems more overwhelming. So you say, okay, well, my life has a sense of overwhelm in it right in this moment. What do I want to do? Do I want to go through the list with a sense of overwhelm, or do I want to reframe that sense, that internal sense, through a creative project? And through each intentional moment of this project, my sense of overwhelm can shift to one of creativity and ease and joy. This is to help support the latter. Efficient life design. Why is making art efficient? Well, right now, the list of things to do feels overwhelming. Overwhelmed people are less efficient, you know? We're shifting your internal atmosphere by this. So there's some rules. Self-love, no judgment. If you're not a so-called artist, that's perfect. If you are, that's perfect. We're putting all technique out of the window, and we're getting into our senses. I've got 4 cups, because I like multiple beverage options. And so in this case, I have 2 beverages and then 2 wine glasses for the watercolor water. Why? Because it's beautiful. Beauty is a value of mine. Then I start playing. The watercolor process. I always wet my paper down with my hand when I'm doing this, because then it carries more color, and then I dilute colors that I mix, and I do it intuitively. Just which colors do I want to intuitively use? And then I dilute them. Oftentimes I'll pour them on. I make sure to stay hydrated, relaxed. There's probably some relaxing music going on. Because this is all about, at this moment, I'm not really even thinking about the list. The list I already kind of crafted on a different piece of scratch paper. This is creating the template, the house, the atmosphere, the feeling of that which the content of my life is contained, is held in this present moment. So this is about building that through the process of painting. So it's more noticing if you're having judgment about your painting being funny or the colors being right. Who gives a shit? Right now, trust your process. This is like where you let the little kid paint. This is the little you painting, and the little you needs nothing but praises from the big you. Nice job painting, honey. Wow, that's an interesting choice in color. Ooh, how does that feel? What does this mean? Ooh, not quite that. Ooh, what about this? Exploring. And just keeping in mind you want to write over it. So usually exploring with super diluted paint colors. And that's like the main, if there's any rule, it's just to make sure it's diluted enough so when you write on top of it, you can see the writing. And that's like the only rule. I mean, you can break it and then write with a white pen. So I'm showing you here that I diluted, but you can't see that I diluted. It's at the bottom of the bottom there. And then I pour it, I bet. I'm like, bummer, can't see it. But I pour it, I betcha. Yeah, pour it. Pouring's really fun. Pouring paint on watercolor paper. The bigger the watercolor paper, the better. This one, she has a big list. I'm making this for my dear friend Anais. She has a big list, but we have medium-sized paper, so I'm going to paint on both sides. Creative painting. If you get paint on your body, maybe that's a sign that it needs to go on the paper. Maybe not. You can't do this wrong. You're just hanging out. Breathing. Relaxing your body. Cultivating self-love. Through celebrating you like you would a little kid if they were painting. Can you imagine ever saying to a little kid, "That's a lame drawing you made for me at school, honey. What's up with the technique?" No, right? This is your creative self. Your creative, multidimensional, magical self gets squashed really easy by judgment. The perception that they can do something wrong. So this right here, this whole exercise is you're just getting groovy with your paints. The process to cultivate the inner atmosphere within you, but also to cultivate the place that your list will be. Occasionally I get extra saturated colors. Sometimes I'll mix them. Here I'm making pink. And then I just play. You see, it's how deep can I get into the sensory process? Are you doing finger paints with watercolors? Hells yes. I am. Why? Because it feels good and I want to. So here's the little clip of this specific painting. No one's the same. Intuitive process, but you can see it's still light enough to write on. And B, this is a slow. It's slow is the fastest way there sometimes in relation to efficiency. It's a value. After your painting's done, do something cozy. When it's drying, make sure you maintain that feeling of cozy. I like cuddling with four-leggeds if they're around. If not, I oftentimes cuddle with myself in a pillow, or like a sweetie or buddy. I think that a little cuddling goes a long ways. Cuddle. And I think a little dancing goes a long ways. Where is this tension held in my body in relation to what I need to do in the world? You wait for it to dry. This clip I involved because I thought it was funny that I scared Rufus. So, once it's dried, you sit back down with your pen and you start decorating. Think of this as decorating. And you take your list that you already made. So this is the part that I didn't show. It's like the making of the list. And what we did is to make a list of everything that needs to be done and to look for categories. And so the category one is our birthday. Because we have the same, our birthday's a day apart. So I claimed it as mine because I'm making her list our birthday. And then, so this is the bigger groups. And it doesn't really matter like it's just that it makes sense to you. So that everything can fit into something. So this, I think with hers, it's like the castle. So that's the house we live in. And remodel, that's one. Birthday. I said admin princess because it said administrative stuff. But when in doubt, if something feels weird, like administration has a sort of heavy note to it. So it's an admin princess. Not so heavy note, right? Because it's the feeling. It's making this fun. Making a list of things to do fun and efficient. And so you're just laying it out. Each theme and then naming it in a way that's fun and putting it somewhere on the piece of paper that you'll have space to write underneath it. So this is for the categories, you'll have space underneath it. So this is the next phase here, where we have the actual ingredients for the list. I flipped the side over. This is the other side of the painting because this part of the list in particular, one umbrella has so many different subcategories that it needed more room. So you just feel into that. Like, is this a sort of category? How much space does this need? And you can't do it wrong because worst case scenario, you just like write stuff somewhere else and do some cute connective thing. Like flip over and look at the bottom right or something, whatever. But this is just, everything has its own space. It can take up its own space and you can visit that space, but by golly, it's going to be cute. And whatever that means for you, that feeling of beauty, of ease, of art, in the creation of your life. This is very powerful. So you make your list, categories, subcategories, and then you put down your actual actions. But they have to be cute too. Why? Because the thread is from the creation of the list to the creation of what you're housing it on. So the content and atmosphere. You want to cultivate the feeling that you want in your life. So this for me, I'm like, well, for the birthday, we want to try out the dinner place, right? And so test place. Nums, yay or nay? So once we go eat at this place, we can come and check and then cross shit out. Because who doesn't like to cross shit off lists, right? But we make it pretty on its way down. So every single thing I put on there is a sort of celebration. Even if it's like call accountant or, it's something, my accountant's great, but if it's something that's seemingly less fun, then it needs extra sparkles and little squiggles and stuff around it. And so that you're holding the most in the most save the date. So it's the details. These are super actions. Like, think about your birthday wishes. Think about communicating them. And this birthday is like a ways away. This is when we're making the list, you're thinking about everything, and it's being transferred from a huge brainstorming. So the list, this is the creation, the transfer of the list that you've already created and that you are beautifying. You're creating the content, the atmosphere for the content to live in, beauty and ease, and a heck of a lot of fun to hold you in your life, in your creative life's design. As pretty as you want to make it. Sky's the limit, really.